Alrighty, good afternoon everybody, it's Grant back here. It's going to be one of our first YouTube installments that we're doing with Squatch Crew. It's going to be kind of an introduction series into some of the fishing things that we do, and it's going to be with regards to surf fishing. With us living about a mile and a half away from a couple local beaches, something we like to do quite regularly along with taking the kayaks out and stuff. I don't know if you can see behind me. If you follow us on Instagram, you'll see that we do a lot of kayak fishing in and around Huntington Beach, as well as surf fishing stuff, as well as local charter boats and things like that. So without further ado, let's get into it. So this is going to be kind of a basics of surf fishing. It's going to be some gear that you want, some targeted species that we go after, and kind of going to show you our whole setup, what we take with us every time we go. Now granted, it can be quite a daunting expense, especially with what's going on right now with everything. Buying all this gear at once. This is something that we've pieced together over probably a year and a half now, just as far as like the actual surf fishing stuff goes. So there's a couple principles, I guess you could say, to surf fishing. There's going to be guys that fish artificials like Lucky Crafts, Kalisas, things like that, and Berkeley Gulf worms, the grubs, stuff like that in and around jetties down here in Southern California. And then you guys have people that go and they fish with bait. They have the big 12-foot plus rods with the big heavy 6,000 series size reels. What we really like doing is we like fishing the inner surf breaks for things like perch, halibut, corbina, croaker, like spot fins and yellow fins, if you guys are familiar with what those are. You get some jack smelts every once in a while, things like that. So we're going to be kind of showing you guys some of our gear, as well as things that we recommend and some things that we've kind of found out that have helped us out a little bit over the past year and a half or so that we've been doing this. So we'll get into it with the basic tackle setups. First thing that you gotta go and get if you want to go fishing is a rod and a reel. So we have two different options here. Let's see. We have option A and option B. Let me break these down. One is going to be a Daiwa and the other one's going to be a Shimano. If you guys are familiar with fishing brands, Shimano used to be one of my favorite companies. They still make really good stuff, but now that I have some Daiwa products in the arsenal, so to speak, I really like purchasing things from Daiwa, and they have great customer service if you ever need anything to be fixed or warranted. So the first thing we have here is a Daiwa North Coast rod. It is a medium heavy fast action tip. I like that so I can really feel what it is that I'm hitting with the lure or the artificial, since that's what I mostly fish with. It also does really good for smaller bait stuff like sand crabs and shrimp, things like that you might use in the surf as well. For the reel size, we're using a 3,000 size spinning reel. Obviously there's saltwater, freshwater variants. If you're going to be doing surf fishing, highly recommend going with the saltwater variant, just because it has the sealed bearings and it is designed to be used in that corrosive environment. And you got to keep in mind, you're going to be dropping it in the sand, it's in the surf, you're wading out up to your stomach, sometimes up to your chest, depending on where you're at and what you're going for. When you're doing things like that, you know, your reel might end up underwater. So if you're able to get something that will be a little bit helpful with the salt water, if you guys are familiar with that at all, it will destroy absolutely everything and anything if it is allowed to. Yeah, so this is option A. One thing to keep in mind when you're doing this, you got to cast out behind everything. You got to cast sometimes, I don't know, 100, 150 feet maybe. That's on a good day if there's no wind and you're throwing a 1 ounce egg sinker or something on your Carolina rig. But you want to have around a 9-foot pole. I wouldn't recommend anything shorter than that. And I wouldn't recommend anything longer than maybe 10.5 to 11, depending on what you're doing, because then it just becomes too cumbersome in my opinion. I think the sweet spot, both of my setups are both 9 foot, and both of them I have almost no complaints about. The one thing I do not like about the Shimano, and like I said, it's a great product. The only thing that I don't like about it is it was my first surf rod. It's a medium heavy fast action as well, and it's 8'6", so it's 6 inches shorter than the Daiwa. But the mid section of the rod is so flimsy and springy, I guess. It's hard to get that hook set when you do actually hook up on something, I think personally. And this one is running a 4,000 size reel, so it's a little bit heavier duty gear. This is kind of my go-to if I'm gonna let bait sit, if I'm doing some sand crab stuff and fishing with bait for whatever it is. Usually when you're doing that kind of stuff, it's for the perch, or it's gonna be for croaker and stuff before being as they swim by. So with that out of the way, the main thing you need to go fishing is a surf fishing rod, or just some kind of fishing rod in general. The next thing that you're gonna need, obviously you need some kind of backpack. We have a Tackle Warehouse backpack. Obviously not everybody's gonna have this or wanna get something like this. I really like it because it holds about 2, 3, or 4,000 series size tackle boxes. Something around this size. You're able to put about 3 of those in this back compartment, and this front compartment is great for line storage as well as soft baits. You're gonna want some kind of backpack. I have it set up with some, I guess you could say, bazooka tubes. These are for pounding them into the sand to let the rods sit if you're gonna be doing bait fishing, or you could just slide your rods in there to carry them to and from the car. Highly recommend that backpack, but anything will do. Obviously, you're not gonna wanna carry all this around if you're sitting there jig fishing. Another thing that I recommend, does get windy at times, is a neck gaiter. If you're fishing in the summer, this is really helpful to keep from getting sunburn on the back of your neck. I'm a white guy, so I sunburn very easily in the surf. So definitely recommend having a neck gaiter of some kind, or one of these UV fishing shirts or sports shirts. This one's from Kufin. They have them on Amazon. A couple of these are nice to have, especially if you're trying to layer in and around the winter months. Depending on what time of year it is that you want to go surf fishing, you're gonna want to try and wear apparel waders. If you're doing it in the summertime, the one thing I would recommend getting is get yourself a pair of thick rubber soled surf booties, or just some kind of wading booties, whatever. You can get some swim shoes, just because there are gonna be stingrays, and that would really ruin your day going out surf fishing. And I've seen it happen. You're trucking into the water and then oh, you're 10 feet in, you step on a stingray, and your fishing day is over. So I definitely recommend getting yourself a nice pair of surf booties. Next thing is that right now it's December 2nd, so the water is a little bit cold. You don't really get favorable conditions this time of year. The surf is a little bit higher, so you're not gonna be able to wade as far out. Is getting yourself a nice pair of waders. This is the first pair of waders I've ever had. It's by a company called Bass Dash. They're pretty good. One thing I would wish I would have gotten a size smaller, because it is a little bit large in the torso for me. It's got a waterproof front pouch. It's got like some fleece lined side pockets, which are nice if you're standing there kind of looking around for whatever. You can stick your hand in there to warm it up. It's got a belt on it, so you obviously aren't constantly trying to pull them up, pull them up, pull them up. And then it's got some sealed off little booties so you don't get your feet wet, and that's what goes inside of that actual surf booty. So that is basically the essentials for the gear that we would recommend having. So let's do a little recap. Obviously, you're going to need some kind of rod. I don't recommend anything shorter than 9 feet. You're going to need a backpack of some kind to carry your tackle around, your bait around, whatever, your cell phone, wallet, keys, that kind of stuff. Some kind of sun protection. It could be sunscreen, it could be one of these shirts, it could be a neck gaiter, whatever, long sleeve shirt if you wanted to. Some kind of surf booties so that you don't step on a stingray at all, as well as a pair of waders if you're going to be doing it in the winter months, because if you get wet and it's winter time and there's wind, you do run a chance of having hypothermia. We're in Southern California, so it's very rare, unless I guess you're out there in December, January, February, March, which are really our cold season. But if you're out there in those conditions, you can become pre-hypothermic or just even get hypothermia. I used to do a lot of surfing and bodyboarding and skimboarding. In those months, it's pretty dang cold. You have a hard time opening your car door after a nice long session. And it's something that you definitely don't want to take for granted. If you can afford it, pick it up. If not, put it off for a little while, but definitely pick it up. It'll definitely take you up a level as far as how long you're able to spend in the conditions, as well as you're really going to want to try and sight fish for a lot of these species, or you're looking for a certain kind of condition, and sometimes you have to walk out into the surf to get to it. And those definitely make it a lot easier than just going in your board shorts and a t-shirt. So yeah, that's basically a conclusion to the gear that you need. So I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the tackle stuff that we run the reels that we run, and some of the recommended setups. I'll see if I can figure out a way to film that to show you guys how I do it. Okay everybody, so this is going to kind of be what we have in our tackle bag every time we go. So as you can see here, we have some fluorocarbon, we have some lures, we have some weights, hooks, swivels, another kind of lure, extra reel, probably unnecessary. You don't necessarily need it, but it's nice to have if you do need it. A couple different artificial looking baits, some pliers, a tape measure or a measuring device of some kind, headphones, optional. I like to listen to music when I fish, and some kind of water bottle or something to carry a beverage in because you might get thirsty. Or you can pick up a couple cans of Coke if you are a Coca-Cola guy. So yeah, these are some very common, I guess you could say, lures that a lot of people use. These are flash minnows by a company called Lucky Craft. These are just some of the colors that I like to run. You have kind of like a jack smelt looking color combo here, an all white one, pretty good halibut color, and then this one I think is called like a bee freeze. I got it at a halibut surf derby competition we were doing. I've yet to catch anything on that. This little jig here, I guess you could say, is kind of like a cast master, something really reflective. You can get something like a crocodile jig or just anything honestly that's shiny and has that similar shape. It kind of flutters through everything, and it's something that a lot of people do like using for perch and croaker and things like that. Fluorocarbon is a must in my opinion. We have some, I think we call this, or you're supposed to call it Runkle or Rukel. It's an Amazon brand fluorocarbon, best bang for your buck. 14 pounds. I'm pretty sure it's very close to 14 pound test, like stated. And you get quite a lot of it. What is it, 300 yards? Yeah, 300 yards is like 15 bucks on Amazon. And we have some Seeger STS trout steelhead fluorocarbon 8-pound test. As you can see, it was $11.99 what I paid for it for 100 yards. You get a lot more for your money with this brand on Amazon, and they have 4-pound all the way through, I think it's 20 or 25-pound test fluorocarbon, and I honestly can't tell the difference between the two. I like having two different options depending on the clarity. If it's murky, sandy, bigger swell, I'll run the 14-pound because obviously more debris in the water means less likely that they're going to see it. Less debris in the water, the lighter you can go, the better, because then they're going to see it easier. Next thing is, depending on what you're doing, we like running drop shots and Carolina rigs. So Carolina rig for the Berkeley Gulp worms. As you can see here, we have a couple different colors. We have like a sand color, bloody worm color, and then more of like a traditional sandworm color with the green and tan. And then with these guys, these Berkeley Gulp minnows, I think is what they're called. We like running a drop shot kind of rig with those. What I like to run are these size 6 mosquito hooks by Owner. As you can see, $2.59. Surf fishing honestly is probably one of the cheapest ways to get into fishing. If you want to go straight into charter boat fishing and you want to go chase tunas and stuff, you're going to be spending thousands of dollars on gear. This is something to get you into it, get you hooked, and then the real money starts coming after that. You just have some basic barrel swivels. If you guys want to see how to tie up a Carolina rig, there's tons of videos on YouTube and diagrams on the internet on how to do it. I'll try and find a link for one and share it. But you're going to need those. You're going to need the mosquito hooks, and you're going to need some kind of weight. Obviously, you're not going to be running a 3-ounce pyramid weight if you're doing some drop shot or Carolina rigs with these, or you're not even going to be running a 1-ounce coin or pyramid weight. For drop shot, I like running these. I don't know what these are even called. They're kind of like a torpedo weight almost, but these are, I believe, 3/8 ounce. For Carolina rig, I like running 3/4 or half, just because in Southern California we do get some swell, so this kind of helps minimize it rolling around too much unnecessary. But those are some of the weight setups that you're going to want. The hooks, we like pairing with the worms. Obviously those you're going to match your hook size to the bait size. So these ones are a little bit too small for that. We have some other ones in the tackle box, we just don't have them out on the table. You're gonna need some pliers. Obviously you don't need fancy leather sheathed and paracord wrapped, chromed needle nose pliers. Any pliers can do. You can go to Harbor Freight and pick up a set for like 99 cents. We just have these for when we go on our boat trips and stuff, so we really like using those. I recommend having some kind of tape measure or measuring device, just because if you do intend on harvesting from the surf, you're gonna need something to show that you did catch something of legal size. You don't wanna be that guy that rolls up on DFG, or DFG rolls up on you and you're a 1/4 inch short. I mean, at the end of the day, we all are, but it's fine. We don't wanna be that guy that gets caught. So definitely recommend having something here that'll help you make sure you're in the green zone as if you're going to be harvesting, if you're catching of legal size. And then obviously the extra reel, this is the smaller version of what I have on that Shimano rod. It's the Shimano, what is that, Sienna 2500 series size. I really like the smaller setups just because some of the fish that you are catching aren't necessarily huge, so this makes it a fun little fight. Obviously tackle boxes and whatnot is up to your choice, what your intent is. Some people like little carrying handle ones, some people like throwing them in their backpack, but like we showed you, we have that awesome tackle warehouse bag, so we really like using that, and all this stuff fits in there quite nicely. So stay tuned for our next video. We're going to be hitting the water, doing a little bit of surf fishing with you guys. We're going to be doing a compare and contrast video for morning time surf fishing versus evening time surf fishing. So stay tuned, and the next video will be out shortly.